Whatever next, Unplugged. Conversations about making transformation more human, more honest, and more likely to stick. And here's our next guest, Sasha Aganova from Optimal Business Design. Hey, Sasha, welcome to
Hi,
Whatever Next
Lisa.
Unplugged. It's so great that you're on the show. You know, you and I met a year ago. You're in Toronto. I'm over here in the UK. We met virtually as part of IRM UK. And then we met physically or personally or face to face in London at the IRM UK session last year. And we just clicked, right? We just clicked. And it's great that you made comments about my book, Whatever Next. And I'm just pleased to have a conversation and one that we can share with others. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me here. As you said, we couldn't stop talking because we found so many interesting topics to have those conversations. And your book is just absolutely fantastic and so thought provoking. So thank you for writing this book and sharing your knowledge with me personally, but also with our community as well, the ones that want to be better at what they do.
So, Sasha, please tell us a bit about yourself, just a bit of an introduction, a background about you, what you're doing today, what you've done before. Just give us a flavor of who Sasha is.
Sure. So I've been in the space of business process management, now enterprise architecture for the last 25 years. A majority of my career was a part of operations. So that's why I am more involved and understood what it actually means, not only to start the transformation, to be part of it, understanding politics and, all the power plays and losing people and getting in new ones. So it is very different. And then now for the last 10, 12 years, I've been in consulting, working on a multiple projects, sometimes at the same time. I've been helping some major organizations. So as you said, I am Canadian. So I worked with 4 major banks here in Canada. I worked with the largest retailer. I worked with almost like 7 or 8 largest manufacturers in Canada. So some of the brands, if I would show you logos, you would recognize. So it is a privilege to support companies like this, but it's also an amazing ground to know what works, what doesn't, and understanding different cultures in the different organizations. Besides that, I've been teaching for 7 years now at the University of Toronto, teach the new generation and bring awareness of what we do.
I love the fact that you've got that client experience, but also you're bringing your knowledge, your experience to the education sector and in the universities, and you're getting to see who's going to be in our shoes in years to come. So that's just fantastic. I love it.
Exactly. And it's very interesting that this conversation, thank you for bringing it up, because, the folks are a little bit different. As we know, every single generation brings its own interesting sides. But I think the biggest thing that I've learned from my students, they are hungry. They want to go and they want to go much faster. And they're surprised that some of the, you know, improvements might take years where it should take much less time. But also at the same time, as you know, when we are structuring the work, and I'm going to talk to you here quite a bit about the structure and the culture, because we had this conversation a lot, is how do you actually offer the knowledge of that culture to and the structure to the new folks that are going to be joining? They don't have as much patience to sit in there, or go through SOPs. It has to be smaller size, real time, and so on. So it's different. It's interesting. It's kind of even more interesting where we are right now, but it's going to be even more interesting as in a few years ahead. So it's a journey.
It is a journey, and that structure that you mentioned versus the culture. You know, if I look back, probably when I came out of university and I started in my first roles, I can empathize with that, wanting to go faster, wanting to achieve improvements, because I'd read the textbook, I'd listened to the lecturers, I'd seen the case studies, I'd written my assignments, my dissertation. But actually, if I now look back, I see so clearly that it's understanding the culture, the politics, the stakeholders, the people side. And there's a part of me that thinks maybe you need to live through it to understand that. But part of our industry and the change industry and the transformation industry is not just bringing structure, but having our ears and eyes open to culture. And every day, I think, even for me right now, is a school day. So whether I was sitting in your university or working with clients or looking back at some of the work I've done, I felt like every day has been a school day. So that's awesome that you generally get to do both. So, Sasha, you mentioned that you've worked with some well known brands across Canada, but what sort of clients, projects, or outcomes do you really get passionate about? What really floats your boat when a client calls you and says, "Come on, Sasha, can you help me get involved?" Which are the ones that really light you up and make you want to get involved?
Very good question. Usually, I am or my firm is asked to join if there is a gap in the certain performance we want. Here's a KPI where we have it right now. Here's where we would like it to be. Or there's a specific business area that we definitely need to look into and to optimize. So we kind of start looking into structural components right away and to see what does it comply. So what is a KPI? How do you break it down? What is a business area? What are the processes that are actually involved? What is all of the work that is in it? So we can again kind of detect into the smaller pieces and then see again what are my enablers in there, what are the systems and the tools that are supporting these processes, what are the policies that are actually guiding it, all of the requirements that impact that work. So it is strictly first designing that, as we just discussed, structural components, everything that describes and prescribes how the work should be done. But then one works my mode, and there's this formula that there's a structure and then there's a culture. So it is the structure only works with the people, right? So, and every time you kind of put the people into the structure and not consider it, you're going to get suboptimal results and vice versa. If you take the same people and put in different structures, you're going to have different results as well. So understanding the people side and understanding and designing the people side becomes so important. So just in a recent project where worked with the bank to improve their mortgage system, not system, but all of the processes that are involved in actually streamlining and optimizing the process from the beginning to the end. Yes, it was great to find that we were able to decrease the cycle time and my number of handoffs and all the beautiful things that looked like good and the solid designs. And after implementation, what really drove me and brings me so much joy to know that 18 months later, Lisa, they're still on it. There is continuous improvements. People are owning it and actually going after, next iterations, and so on. So it became a part of not just here's the design, hey, let's jump, but it's actually was right from the very, very beginning of how do you pass that? It's not for consultants. It's not for us to do the job. It's actually for the individuals who are going to be, going further. And this is a big, big trick. And as we know, a majority of the companies I'm working with, I work with companies in US and then around the world as well. It's a similar trend. All of the talented, busy people are super busy and it's already up to capacity very, very often. So how do you find that 10-15% of the time to put on the project and be involved in it? But I'm sure you had similar situations as well as where you were.
Yeah, definitely similar situations and totally similar things that rock my boat. I mean, that whole holistic picture that you talked about. I think the dream of being an enterprise architect is you do get to focus on the technical systems, the processes, the data, and the people side of it. And I think I look back and know that a lot of the work I worked on previously has been in that technology systems space and actually inherently adopting the processes that were in the system rather than being able to redesign the processes and come up with a system to match it. When I first started work, we were building systems based on how we worked. But clearly, in the last few decades, people have taken on ERP platforms and out of the box platforms and software as a service platforms. So many of those processes come embedded. I loved the fact that you said you've managed to get to a space where not only have you been in, restructured it, focused on KPIs, but you've also you've also managed to walk away, go back 18 months later, and the way we work around here has changed as a result of your work. And that's got to be, the happy path for all of us, hasn't it? That we do make a difference. And I think we don't make that difference as individuals either. I think you're right to pull out the fact that we need to unlock people to be engaged and involved in the work. You could be an architect, an enterprise architect, a transformation director, a group of project managers. But unless we've got representation from around the business who
Yeah.
know the processes and know that they want to go on the journey to change and they want to still be there after the change being implemented and make it work, that again is gold dust.
But I think that's what we would love to discuss with you. What is going to be interesting was this current stages of AI, and at the same time, what we just spoke was the new generation coming on board. As we are now able to do everything that architects do much, much faster. So we used to take 3 months just to collect the information about what is actually happening, right? Because not that much is again is explicit and on the piece of paper. So now with all the tools available, it's either through still transcripts that we have or process mining that we do or even crawling the ERPs and so on. So we can collect the information about the business knowledge much, much, much faster. So to bring the folks kind of here's what we have and here's already quick wins and here's what's going to be next is much faster. Now, what is interesting because once you actually know what's the next step is, what is that natural time that you still need to pass to kind of brew on it? Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And I think it is the what next. I mean, if if you look back, what AI brings us is the ability to throw a lot of documentation, a lot of transcripts, a lot of company information, and for that AI to see the patterns,
Yes.
to pull out the patterns. That's what AI is brilliant at, pulling out the patterns, seeing the boxes to
Yes.
put the stuff into. I think what that opens up is it's not so much about the boxes and the patterns. It's more about what are going to be the way we can grow our business and be different, because everybody else is generating the same patterns. Everybody else is normalizing to the AI out of the box approach to delivering things. And we know that some businesses, that's great. Turn them into a commodity, turn them into everybody knowing what that commodity does. Maybe the brand is the thing that makes that company different, but the processes, the flow, the ways of working is exactly the same between the brands. And I feel the younger generation and the people who are more AI native will have to grow up to be exploring the new stuff, not improving what we've always done, because AI can do that, but actually really thinking out of the box, really thinking about how can we use our expertise and knowledge differently? How can we engage with customers differently where they want to be engaged with? So yes, I do see AI as taking over what we do, but I see that as creating the space for more of us to get involved and think about the future, and to design things that are future proof rather than fit for today. And that's my real dream, that AI takes us to that future.
Well, yes, and let's explore if we may have a little bit more time on this because I think this is a very interesting few aha moments for me. I work with a majority of already established organizations. They've been out there, they know their ways of doing, their processes are very well established. Not might not be very well documented as we know, but they're very well established business as usual businesses. And I would want to separate and run them in parallel. The operational excellence, it's still huge. So again, the current clients I'm working with, there's an infrastructure that some of it is outdated, needs to be changed. It's continuously some really inefficiencies that just need to be done. And improving those as this backbone, operational backbone, still needs to be completed and done, right? The way we do that now, because of the tools that are available, becoming so much faster. So you spoke about the patterns. So for example, if in the past, the last 10 years, we collected as the process and analyst, let me put my hat on as a process analyst, I would collect as much information as possible, but try to also fit into the models that we had. So BPMN, as you know, is almost synthesized and simplified view of what is happening. It could be good 90% of happy paths and probably 20 paths documented as well. Here's some workarounds and so on. But accuracy or really reflection of reality, now I'm thinking was like close to 25%. Now, stepping in my shoes today, my firm is collecting the information much more. All of the color that happens besides just, happy paths. I'm having cultural descriptions. I'm having who's on the break, who's going actually, which ID signs up during the day versus in the night shift, and so on. What are the relationships? How many meetings are there? All that information now, I'm not feeding it to BPMN. I'm actually getting and using it in LLO so that I maintain almost close to 75% of reality that happens. What does it give us? Well, now, as you said, it's the patterns that human is not able to find. It is to find those specific and those operational items to say, you know what, you don't need to re-engineer the whole process ABC. All you need to do is now is just to look at specific this role at this point of time for this specific, type of mortgage for this specific rules that apply. So you actually can be laser focused on the improvements as well. And this becomes absolutely fantastic. So that's for the operational excellence. It's still there. Without that backbone, you want to put digital services on top or not, some of those things still need to be. You still need to be brilliant with basics.
Oh, totally. I get that. In today's world, everybody is up against it. Costs are going through the roof. There's unstable climate. And whereas companies may have wanted to look at that digital transformation and human side, which also we now know needs to run in parallel, the focus is operational excellence and bring in AI to speed up the patterns, help us see error logs or exceptions that can be handled more appropriately.
Exactly.
And just throw AI at it with expertise, with process expertise, with all of the measurement around
Exactly.
it. Please focus on that. And then I come along with whatever next and say, but there's a human side, and without this human side, it won't stick. And I can see that everybody's got this new tool in AI, and that's focusing everyone down on the operational excellence. And maybe people are getting a bit deaf to the human side. Maybe they need to sort that foundation out, like you rightly say, make the most of that operational excellence, and then come back to the human transformation on top. Maybe that is what's happening.
I don't think it's on top, Lisa. Parallel, right? Because we are so either you're working on operational excellence, become still maintaining being brilliant at basics, in the parallel, continuously working on the building the digital services so that you have a data available and ready for digitizing your operating model, business model, whichever you want to go later on. You still need to continue building those components that you will need to do later. An example, yes, okay, again, another client. So manufacturing, all we do is just manufacture and sell the product. That's great, but not only anymore. So our clients and customers will and do, and we would like to offer as well everything we know about them, because we collected so much data about how often you order, about this product that you're going to need, the supply chain, the whole way, if something happens downhill, for example. So what actually happens and how's it going to impact my operations in here, so I can help your SNLP later on provide you all of that information. So it's not only that I'm providing you product anymore, I'm providing you actually knowledge about you and all of the digital services as well. We have to continuously build this together now. It's not only operational
No, you're right. You're
excellence,
right.
right? It's at the same time being ready for that. But and not even that, but your human side, who are you doing it with? It's with your people at the same time. No matter what you're doing, it's business as usual. It's improving being brilliant at basics and or building the digital services. People are working with you, and closer you bring them already now to AI tools that are available for you to do the job better and faster, higher quality, as we discussed for the architects, that it is, because I think what's coming in next year and in the next few years, it's going to be how much trust do you as an organization give to your people to actually continuously develop what they do. And it is still what we were talking, at least about 15 years ago. It's continuous improvement. It's this mindset of a continuous improvement. If it is passed and the better tools are, leveraged during thinking of how I can do my job better, and just give that trust and enable, faster you're going to go.
We've covered a lot in the last 20, 25 minutes. And it started with structure and culture. And then we've gone through the layers, the operational excellence, the digital along the top, the human along the top of that. And if I look out to 2030, if I look to that decade thinking and look out to 2030, 2040, what could good look like if taking on everything we've just discussed in the last 20, 25 minutes? To me, I'm hearing you say that it's operational excellence collaboratively with the people that are part of the organization and the culture of the organization, and ultimately the people behind the products to really make a business perform better, at the same time as being very focused on optimizing those back-end processes, mid-tier processes and front-end processes. What would you see for 2030?
Well, the honest answer, I don't know, Lisa.
Good, honest,
Well,
true,
without
who
being
does?
probably because to know that the change is accelerating, it's already yesterday's record. It's not just accelerating so much faster than you always did. I think the real time feedback on anything that we do is going to become inevitable. So if I'm in any role you want to pick, you want it to not, but the camera is probably going to be there all the time. The keystrokes are going to be there all the time. But why? Because we really want to be able to adjust if we need to provide the real time feedback. If on the tasks that are necessary in a very high, have high criticality, to stick to the rules, right? So if something is forgotten, then you need to go back and do that task. That is if you're talking task oriented. If you're talking about the creativity, collaboration, it's going back to where, in what areas of the work that would be necessary. And the tools are going to help us so much with giving us more ideas, giving us more stricter descriptions of the decision making, or enable us to be better as an employees, as collaborators, as a human beings. So I think it's going to be absolutely exciting world to be in, and I can't wait to be there. And actually, to be frank, to be a part of building it, because that's what, Lisa, you and I are going to continue putting our brain power to, and make this world a better place.
Make it a better place, carry on building it, and make sure that those students, Sasha, that are attending your lectures can also go on and have a great future. Sasha, whatever next, that has been a fantastic conversation as ever. Thank you for being on the show. And I can't wait to catch up with you next time you're in the UK. And you never know, I might make it to Toronto.
Thank you.
Whatever next, Unplugged. Conversations about making transformation more human, more honest, and more likely to stick. Find out more at whatevernextbook.com.